Who says there's no such thing as drama around the SEC? Lord knows that we always get something like that. We're back again, ladies and gentlemen, with another edition of SEC Live, the final whistle once again. I'm your host, as always, Lucas Hill. Thank you guys so much for hopping on in and joining us as we get ready to recap a wild Week 8 around college football. A lot of upsets, a lot of coaches that have officially been fired. The second coach in the SEC has been fired this season. Who's next? Who's going to follow behind him? We'll go over our power rankings for the 2025 season, and we'll progress as we look forward to a playoff elimination Saturday in the SEC. But I need you all to do me a favor before we begin. I need you all to hit the like, share, and subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell notification so that you are notified every time we go live here on the SEC Live channel at the Voice of College Football. Our guy Jackson Johnson in the comments, as always, man. Appreciate the love, appreciate the support. I'll be on with Jackson tomorrow on Alabama at the Voice of College Football to break down South Carolina and Alabama for that game. Really excited to see what transpires from there. But we got a lot to break down from Week 8. Guys, like we mentioned, Week 9 is going to be playoff elimination day. And guess what? There's going to be a lot of expectations that people aren't going to expect. But you know what? That's the beauty of the game, is that we always get something creative. So let's go over every game from around the SEC. Some that caught our eyes, some that just straight up just was wild at the end of it all. We know Pac-12 After Dark was fun as always, but the SEC, it just means more. Let's kick it off. LSU Vanderbilt, who came into the game 2.5-point favorites. And what did Vanderbilt do that changed the outcome of the game? They ran the football, and they exposed this LSU defense. J.A. Kruger, what's the YouTube page? I'm going to post it in the link for you. I got you. Here, John. I got you, brother. Boom. Y'all go ahead and get it to the YouTube. Oh, let me go ahead and post it in the Twitter sphere, because I know that we are live right now on Twitter as well. There you go. Go ahead and click on the YouTube link. If you're watching us on X, go ahead and subscribe to the SEC channel. We have week-by-week predictions with a lot of different guests. We had Chris Gordy on this past week. We'll see who we got on this week, man. Might be a little surprise. But let's get into this football game. LSU Vanderbilt. The big thing going into this football game is that after what we saw last week from LSU's offense, I thought that they were going to come in much, much better, knowing that you have a lot more to live up to and a lot more that you have to improve on. And LSU kind of pissed down their own leg. They gave up a lot of big plays defensively. And you have nobody else to blame but your own self. Nobody else to blame. Guys, Vanderbilt is for real. There is no other way to describe it, but Vanderbilt is for real. You have a great win against a top 10 opponent. Second time you've beaten a top 10 opponent in 2 years. You are a damn good football team. You had moments against Bama. Really, you should be too. He's 7-0 in my opinion. But I'm not making the predictions. But from here on out, I think we could potentially be talking about Vanderbilt as a playoff contender when it is all said and done. One of the things that Vanderbilt did is that they ran the football. You knew what they were going to do going into this football game. That was their bread and butter. They ran for 239 yards against this LSU defense and 3 scores. Which, by the way, if you remember what happened last week for that LSU had, they gave up 193 against South Carolina. And you know what they did too? They gave up big plays. 43-yard run. You gave up a pair of touchdowns on the ground from Diego Pavia, who had 3 of them. Even through the air, guys, even though you had only 14 completions, Vanderbilt did, you were able to generate big plays and you were able to expose a bit of their weaknesses. Thought they did really well with that. You have guys like Caden Durham and Harlem Berry who break off big runs, but you don't go to them. Caden Durham has 7 carries for 59 yards, but his longest was 51 on the day. So really, the guy that should have been getting the carries was Harlem Berry. In essence, if you take away the 51-yard run, LSU had 49 yards rushing if you include the negative 14 yards rushing from Juwan Johnson and Garrett Nussmeier combined. LSU just could not turn the advantages that your defense gave you and turned it into 6. Because you would get into stupid formations and you would end up costing yourself at the end of the day. Our guy John Edward on Twitter said, or on YouTube says, Shane Beamer going to lose the fan base. Oh, believe me, we're going to talk about that when we get a minute. We're going to talk about that because he said some stupid comments in his post-game presser. But I thought overall, Vanderbilt's defense stepped up in the fourth quarter specifically. And they forced the last 2 drives to 3-and-outs for LSU. LSU could not get much going on the ground. They could not get a run game established, and your offensive line got bullied. So Vanderbilt right now is for real. And they have a very clear shot to the college football playoff. They may pull off some upsets along the way. You get Missouri at home next week. That'll be an interesting one. You go to DKR with a chance to pull off an upset in 2 weeks. You play Auburn, Kentucky, and then at Tennessee. Even if you lose one more game, I think you'll have the advantage when it's all said and done because of quality wins over teams like LSU, Missouri, and on the road at Texas. And I think strength of schedule will benefit Vanderbilt as well. LSU, on the other hand, I don't know, man. You'll be hanging on that Clemson win for a while, but right now it just doesn't look good. LSU sitting on the outside looking in for the college football playoff. Now, the next 2 games, they play Texas A&M, who's number 3 in the nation, next week in a primetime game at home. We'll see how that ends up. And then you go to Bryant-Denny and play Bama. Good luck winning one of those. Good luck winning them both. And then you go on the road to play Oklahoma. I didn't mention that. Bye. So LSU is in quite a bind. That's all I have to really say about that. If you're LSU right now, you better be able to find your offensive identity, man. You better be able to coach up well. This offensive staff had its worst showing that they have ever had this season, specifically. And that's on nobody else but yourself. That's on lazy in-staff hiring. And you know what? I'm from Baton Rouge, and I hear the fans' frustration. Trust me. It's there. They want to fire Brian Kelly right now. I don't think he's there yet, but I do think his name is going to be swirled around on the hot seat going into next season if LSU misses the college football playoff again. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are in the comments section below. By the way, we will take live phone calls when we get to the end of the show. 843-350-2534 is the number to call. Let me go ahead and post the phone number for you guys to get involved if you want to call into the show. 843-350-2534, 843-350-2534. Also, we have our call-in link in the comment section as well. I'm going to start to post it in the Twitter sphere. So, look, the SEC, in my opinion, I don't want to say they've taken a step back this year, but it just doesn't feel like there is a legitimate contender when it comes to the national championship compared to teams like Ohio State. I don't want to say Indiana just yet. We'll see what they fare in the postseason. Guys, anything can happen at this point in the SEC. It's as unpredictable as you name. But we'll see, man. I mean, you have another half of football that you got to get ready for. Let's go to Oklahoma against South Carolina. And I want to briefly touch on this, not just because I cover South Carolina, but it's also because of some comments that were made in the postgame. And some comments that I believe need to be addressed. And comments that I think should really, really guys, if you're a South Carolina fan, you're frustrated at this point in time. And I think you're frustrated because, number one, your offense isn't producing. Number two, you're making excuses for what you've done this season. And by the way, all of it is on you. What Shane Beamer said yesterday after the game and today on the teleconference are stupid and idiotic. The one comment that took me over the edge is what he said to Jack Veltri of Gamecocks. I think he's of Gamecock Central. You guys can help me out with that one. But the fact that he's going to go out in front of everybody and say that this is, I've already made changes throughout the week. I made changes last week is ridiculous to me. You got whipped up front on the offensive line again. Your play calling was horrible. 4th and goal, and you go in the shotgun instead of running tush-push right up the middle with a 240-pound quarterback right behind his offensive line. I don't care how bad your O-line is. You can't push up the middle 4 inches. You got to be kidding me. Really? That's ridiculous. That's utterly ridiculous, and it's inexcusable for you to go into a press conference and have to answer questions that are realistically good questions. Hey, man, why are we running 4th and goal from the goal line and we're not getting behind our big offensive lineman? And we say, hey, do we need to make changes in the play calling? And he says, I made changes last week. That's laziness. That's hiding your issues from what you did last week. That's hiding the real issue. I understand that that Mike's buyout is weird. Guys, you don't have a choice. You can't have him around for 2026. You can't have him around for much longer at this point in the season. You've got to fire him immediately. And many of you are going to say, well, who's going to take over? It's either going to be Sean Elliott or it's either going to be him or Mike Furry that's going to take over the play calling. And I'll say this. I expect Beamer's seat to heat up in 2026. How much longer as Gamecock fans are you going to allow for up and down seasons like this? Dating all the way back to 2022. Win 9 games, the next season you fall flat on your face. 2024, you surprise everyone with a bunch of super seniors, you win 9 games. This year you're falling flat on your face and you had the worst offense that you've had all year. Offensive line specifically. How fed up with you are you at this point in time? And guys, I told you that this was going to be an issue last year. Guys, I know many of you are kind of new to listening to me, especially if you're a Gamecocks fan. But for those of you that have been listening to me, when I was with SEC Unfiltered, and I talked with Chris Phillips, formerly of the Spurs Up Show, which I know a lot of you love. Wink, wink. But we said that this has been South Carolina athletics for a while. They tease you with a great year, and then they just piss you off the very next year. Goes back to laziness, man. You have a new athletic director. You know changes are going to be made soon. He's got to think about what's going to happen. Donati's got to think about what's going to happen for his future and what's going to happen when it comes to what South Carolina is going to look like. Not just at the end of this year, but going into 2026 and beyond. I don't know, man. It's so frustrating. It's so aggravating. And it's downright disrespectful to the fan base and the boosters that support you week in and week out. But Oklahoma back on the winning stretch again. I knew going into this one that it was going to be a very tough task for any team like Oklahoma to try and win a football game like this. They go play, but they've got a rough stretch themselves. The rest of the year is not easy for Oklahoma. You're entering the gauntlet of your schedule. 6-1, you've accomplished a goal. You play Ole Miss at home next week. Top 15 battle at Norman in the morning. Going to be an early one. You go to Tennessee, at Alabama, Missouri, and LSU at home. Like I said, college football playoff elimination week is here. We're starting to see the first batch of it, and it's going to come from the SEC. It's going to be a lot of fun. Texas A&M, Arkansas. Chris Gordy was right, man. I had a feeling that this was going to be a back and forth game throughout the entirety of the season. What was Texas A&M's response going to be defensively? I thought that they were the most complete team defensively. I was wrong. Because, man, they gave Arkansas opportunities to stay in the football game. I know the final score didn't indicate the same, but Arkansas manages to put up 40 freaking 2 on Texas A&M's defense. And guess what? I would expect Mike Elko to go in pissed off. I would hope so. Arkansas kept it close for majority of the football game. Up until the very last couple of plays. Because Arkansas's defense sucks. But this does cause for concern. Yes, you're undefeated. Texas A&M is great. You go to Ole Miss, you go to LSU, you go to Missouri, you play South Carolina, and you go to Texas. I do think right now Texas A&M is in the driver's seat for the SEC championship, and they're in the driver's seat to get the auto bid to the college football playoff. But guys, we could very likely be in a position where it would be between 3 2-loss, 3 or 4 2-loss SEC teams fighting for the college football playoff spot. That's concerning to me. Texas A&M just did not look good defensively. I thought they gave up a lot of yards on the ground, and I thought they got pushed around a little bit up front. So I don't know what's going to happen in the next few weeks with Texas A&M. Knowing that you got LSU this week, how are you preparing for that? How is LSU going to prepare for that? But you're undefeated. You're in the driver's seat for the SEC title. How do you keep that? And guys, you put up almost 500 yards of total offense, but you also gave up almost 400 and 500 yards of you gave up over 500 yards of offense to Arkansas. You can't have that. Cannot have that when it's all said and done. And I would say that was a pretty bad game that Texas A&M played, in my opinion. Ole Miss, Georgia. Thank you, John Edward. Appreciate the love. Ole Miss and Georgia. Georgia finds a way to scrap back in it, bro. They barely cover, too, by 8. Man, that was a good game. That was a really, really good game. Ole Miss up a good bit, man. Up 35-26. And going into the fourth quarter, Georgia takes it right down the field. And they played the time of possession game. They got stops when it mattered most. And they forced Ole Miss into bad situations. Your last 3 drives of Ole Miss, 3 and out, turnover on downs. Georgia forced the issue. That's why they're sitting as the victors. So, it's a really, really good drive for Georgia's defenses the last 3 drives of the game. But does this cause concern for you if you're Georgia? I will say this was a very, very good game. 500 yards of offense from Georgia. Gunnar Stockton made plays that mattered most and played a completely incredible game. Probably the best game he's played of his career. 5 total touchdowns and over 300 yards of offense. Nate Frazier, the running game showed up for Georgia. 221 yards rushing against one of the worst rush defenses in the SEC in Ole Miss. Keywan Lacey held in check. 12 carries for 31 yards, but had 2 scores. Trinidad Shameless, 9 carries for 42 and 2 scores himself. But you had to get the football out and you had to create big plays. And I think Ole Miss did that early on. Just was unable to finish. That's the difference between championship teams and guys that are just there knocking on the door. Ole Miss isn't there just yet. Georgia's already there. They're the victors in this one, and they obviously deserved it. Mississippi State, Florida. You knew that this was the end of an era, man. I mean, you can't. You can never be too sure going into a game like this. And realistically, guys, I don't know what DJ Lagway is going to do after this year, whether he enters the portal or not. The bottom line is that he's just not developing well enough with Billy Napier as his head coach, and that's why they made the decision to fire him. The president and the board of trustees came out and said that we trust Billy, or we trust Scott Strickland to make a good decision for our next head coach. Are you sure you would? Are you sure? I don't think that's the game. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. But right now, from what we saw last week and how inconsistent that you've been, this was going to happen whether you won or lost. You win, doesn't matter. Bye, Billy. Bye, Billy. I mean, you dug your own grave, dude. Good luck keeping DJ Lagway in Gainesville. I think he will, but at what cost? That's something that Florida has to come up with themselves. But again, Mississippi State, I think this was one of their lone chances to potentially get a massive win. I mean, you had it right at the end, dude. Just a bad decision from Blake Shapen. That's a rough way to lose that football game. I don't know what – and turnovers that killed Mississippi State in late game situations like that. Tennessee first, and now Florida. This should be a 6-1 team. Should be fighting for a top 25 spot. But instead, that's not the case. And unfortunately, that's where we're at right now with Mississippi State. I do think they eventually get to that 5th win against Arkansas. But getting another win, got Texas going to Davis Wade next week. We'll see if they can't pull out of in a little upset. I think that Texas game is going to be the last chance that Mississippi State has to potentially pull off an upset and get to a bowl game. That's just my opinion at this point in time. But where does Florida go, man? Where does Florida go? Lane Kiffin, obviously, at the top of the list. I don't know if he's going to go there. I would like to see it, though. I think it's interesting because you have a guy like that in that situation, a guy that you've always hinted at him going elsewhere around the SEC, knowing how he is. It's all depending on what your administration decides to do. All right. Hey, we're going to knock out the rest of those games when we come back. You're listening in. This is SEC Live in the final whistle here at the Voice of College Football.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.
Texas in a battle with Kentucky. Are we serious? Cutter Boley. What in the hell? Pop off. What do they say? What do the kids say? Pop off, twin. Dude, Arch Manning played a bad game of football, and guess what? The Texas Russian attack was reduced to rubble. You got outplayed. That's the bottom line. But Texas finds a way to win the football game because Kentucky turns it over on downs on 4th and 1 instead of kicking for points. They would have an interception near midfield that would lead to a missed field goal. You get back in the football game, and for somehow, some way, that final drive was crazy. This is how it went, by the way. 42 seconds left. You're at your own 27. Cutter runs for 16, 43-yard line, first down. Completion to Seth McGowan to the 40. So in 2 plays and with 34 seconds left, you're already at the Texas 40. You throw an incompletion. You'd have a 4-yard pass to Josh Caddis. You would throw to Seth McGowan, and there's an offsides penalty on Trey Moore, so the clock stops in your favor. You'd have a completion to DJ Miller, and then Jacob Kawe would kick a 45-yarder and make it, 13 all. By the way, you'd have a missed field goal, a turnover on downs, and an interception. Kentucky would turn it over on downs, and then Mason Shipley would kick a field goal to give Texas the victory. Kentucky had opportunities to win this football game that were gifted. Texas, probably the most overrated team in the SEC right now. The most disappointing team, in my opinion, in the SEC. We could be looking at a scenario where Texas misses the college football playoff. Tennessee, Alabama. Almost reminiscent of the game where, what's his name, had a fumble return for a touchdown that went 100 yards. Flipped the game to Alabama side. But I remember me and Chris talked about this when we did our weekly previews. And he said what teams have done against Alabama is that they've abandoned what was working for them. What was working for you was the run game. Star Thomas and Deshaun Bishop are averaging 8 yards a carry, and you're going away from them. It's about to be halftime, and Tennessee's got an opportunity to make it 14-16 going into halftime. And then Zabian Brown has a 99-yard return for a touchdown. It's 1st and goal, 2nd and goal from the 1, and you run play action. Really? How stupid of a play call was that? And you ran with Deshaun Bishop the last 3 times, and you were getting yards. Give the football to him again. You're at the 1-yard line. Even if you don't come away with points, guys, hurry up. You can get to the football and clock the freaking thing. And if you're going to throw near the goal line, or really if you're going to throw to the end zone. Don't throw near the goal line. That's a stupid play call. And it shifted the momentum completely to Alabama. They go on a 9-play, 99-yard drive. That would make it 30-13. They chewed clock, and they made Tennessee work. 37-20. By the way, Tennessee gave up a safety after getting a 3-and-out because you'd have an illegal block on Braylon Staley that would back you up to the 9-yard line, and then Joey Aguilar would get sacked in the end zone for a safety. Alabama took advantage of the opportunities that were given to them. Missouri, in a dogfight with Auburn. This game goes to overtime. This looks like it could be one of those games where Auburn might be able to pull off a massive upset. But again, the knockout blow to the Hugh Freeze era is official. But I will give Auburn this. They finally were able to run the football. Ran for 111, does Jeremiah Cobb. Jackson Arnold, 17 carries for 14 yards. Cam Coleman had a big game, 6 catches for 108. But Eric Singleton only has 6 for 32. Surprised the run game was not involved whatsoever in this game. And I'm glad I didn't bet on this game. I would have severely lost some money. Excuse me. Missouri looked really bad on the run game. I thought Auburn's rush defense did really well, shutting down Jamal Roberts and Ahmad Hardy, holding them to just 2.1 yards a carry. But when it mattered most, you were able to get production in overtime, and your defense stepped up in a big way. Zion Young was a big factor in that football game. 5 tackles and 2 sacks. Josiah Trotter, 8 tackles and a sack. You got to him. You sacked Jackson Arnold 5 times in that football game. You played like a freaking dog. Debo Atkins, I'll give him this, man. 2 sacks and 11 tackles is impressive. I would rate that as an honorable mention for Defensive Player of the Week in the SEC. I'll give my Freaks of the Week when we come back. When I start posting back on the SEC channel. So really excited to get back into those. I want to show you guys my power rankings going into week 9 of the SEC season. We will break it all down just before we get up out of here. By the way, guys, phone line is still open, 843-350-2534 if you guys want to get involved. And I know that many of you really can't see it right now because of the ticker. So let me get the ticker out of here so that you guys can get a better look. Boom, there you go. There's my week 9 power rankings. Alabama coming in as a new number 1, replacing Texas A&M, drops 2 spots to Georgia, who comes in at number 2. Texas A&M, Vanderbilt comes in at 4 after their big win against LSU. Missouri sitting at 5 right now. Ole Miss at 6, Tennessee at 7, Oklahoma sits at number 8, Mississippi State at 9, Texas drops to 10th, LSU sitting at 11th, Arkansas moves up to 12th, Florida moves up to 13th, Auburn at 14, South Carolina switching spots with Auburn at 15th, and Kentucky right now sitting at number 16. And right now, guys, the way that I do these power rankings is I look at this past week and I look at what you did before. And right now, I mean, you have a really bad showing. You really don't have a legit contender in the SEC. It's going to change every week. I feel like every other week I'm going to have a new number 1. Because next week, when we look at the games that we got in the SEC, and we talk about Ole Miss and Oklahoma, all Alabama, South Carolina, Missouri, Vanderbilt, Texas, Mississippi State, Texas A&M at LSU, Tennessee, Kentucky. Guys, the widest line for this one is Alabama minus 13.5 against South Carolina. So really excited to see what that one looks like. Really excited to see what week 9 is going to bring back to college football. We're inching closer to November, man. We're inching closer to really the first few college football playoff polls being announced. I think we'll get our first few polls very soon. And I think we do have a phone call. Oh, we have a phone call, by the way. You're on the phone with Lucas Hill. This is the South Carolina, or not the South Carolina. This is the Final Whistle here on the SEC Live channel. Who do we have the pleasure of speaking to?
Hey, this is John.
What's up, John? How are you, man?
Dude, could be better.
You should have seen last night's show, man. I mean, it was pretty bad. But what do you think of all the SEC action? I know you got a lot to say about South Carolina, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's the big one. So yeah, I'll just be frank. Like I was checking on my phone on occasion. I mean, the game when eventually it got out of hand, I was just checking on my phone because we were actually doing something on Saturday at a local state park for my 30th birthday yesterday. So it was probably a good thing we had that something for my birthday yesterday out of the park, because then I didn't have to sit through that abomination yesterday. But anyway, it's just what you said earlier, like what he said yesterday after the game. And I'm like, yeah, you made a change, but it's not good enough. And what you said earlier about how long are we gonna accept a good season, then fall flat on our face next year, like going back and forth, like we can't keep doing this. And here's my only thing. I'm not saying this would happen, but it wouldn't shock me either. Would Donati entertain making a change after the season? Because here's my thing. You're not beating Alabama. You're not beating Ole Miss. You're not beating Texas A&M. That's 7 losses right there before you even get to Coastal and Clemson. And then if you lose the next 3 games, you're not going to a bowl game. And I don't know if he would do it. I don't know what you think. Would Donati possibly do it?
Would he make a change at the end of the year? Are you asking me that? Or
head coach? Head coach.
At the end of the year? No.
Yes. At the end of the year, sorry.
No, yeah, I wouldn't expect it to happen at the end of the year, because he still kind of has that grace period following a year like this. Because, I mean, I still think there's a lot of support for the program, but I don't know for sure if you're going to make a move this year. I just don't see a scenario where that happens. But let's say you have the same results next year, and non-conference wise, it's not as bad now that you got rid of Miami, now that you don't have to face them. But this is your schedule next year. You go to Clemson, you go to Alabama, you go to Florida, you go to Oklahoma, Georgia at home, Tennessee at home, Texas A&M at home. So that pretty much just tells you what next year is going to be like. Plus, it's going to be a rebuild year, because I do expect Lenoris to potentially enter the transfer portal. I don't know if he stays a Gamecock. And that's what I got a lot of pushback from on social media, is that specific thing. Is because people don't want to accept the fact that this could be a very harsh reality. And I've emphasized this enough already on the South Carolina channel, but I don't think people really understand the big picture of what could happen throughout the rest of this year. That Dylan Stewart could potentially leave the door. JR could potentially go pursue other opportunities in the transfer portal. You might have to clean house entirely. It's not just Shula. Maybe Clayton White might be heading out. 5 years, a lot of up and downs.
Same thing.
That's been your culture for ever since Beamer, really since the last couple of years of the Muschamp era.
But you're saying the back and forth of, it's been a pattern of having a good year and then flat on their face.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Like, if you have a bad year next year, then I could see, hearing you talk, maybe if you have a bad year next year, I could see. I just thought I'd ask, because I was seeing it a lot yesterday.
Right.
People saying, people are, and I get it, people are upset, and I don't, like, I really got nothing. I mean, it's just like, and I know I don't know how much I'm going to listen this week, but I just got this weird feeling this whole week leading up to the Alabama game because, it's just, they're going to say this. I know it's coming. They're going to say, oh, it's 15 years later, same great game, kickoff time on Saturday, same schools. Like, oh, we're not superstitious or anything, but it's the same kickoff time against Alabama as it was 15 years ago. I'm like, yo, that is completely different. Alabama's on fire. We're playing like crap. What'd you say the spread was, 13 right now?
Yeah, the spread's 13.5. John, to your point, I have heard this so many freaking times from a lot of fans, and I posted about this on Twitter. Stop comparing this year to what you saw last year or what happened to other years prior. Stop. This is a completely different program. This is a completely different roster. This ain't the same one that you had when Steven Garcia or Connor Shaw was here. You're not recruiting at a high rate, and you're not developing guys at a high rate. And the on-field product shows.
We don't have pass rushers that will get after Ty Simpson, especially if Dillon's not playing.
You have pass rushers, but you're not consistent.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just even – and if – like, I don't even know what the status of Dillon is. I mean, heck, it's Sunday night. But even if Dillon is playing Saturday, you know what Alabama's going to do. Kalen DeVoe is not stupid. He's going to scheme up to take away Dillon Stewart and see if I'm missing anybody on the defensive line. He's going to make guys like Brian Thomas beat you. He's going to make Goodwine, and I'm missing somebody else on the defensive line. He's going to make the other three guys beat you, and they just have not shown the ability to if Dillon's taken away.
What is his injury? Because I know he was pulling on his hip yesterday on the broadcast.
Yeah, see, like I said, I didn't see much of the game. Like the little bit I did see of it, I saw him coming off the field. They were taking him into the tent, and then I think it was like at some point during the game, he was on the sideline with like no shoulder pads on. He just had his jersey on.
Right.
I don't really know, and I don't even know what Shane said tonight. I think, and like honestly, let me ask you this, and I'll go like I don't really blame fans for taking Shane Beamer's comments the last couple of days. Talking today and yesterday, for what he said.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just like, and I'll just say this real quick. This is the first time. I'll just be honest. This is the first time I've really disagreed with him in the 5 years now he's been there. 5 seasons.
Yeah,
this is like the first time I've disagreed with something he said. Just because I'm like, why would you? Like, I'm sorry, that's a snarky way to answer a question.
When you have comments like that from what he said to Jack yesterday about how he made a change last week and, I have to evaluate. Oh, why? Because I see – why am I not making – huh?
Well, apparently he didn't evaluate.
and he says things like, I look at how the team's practicing and I evaluate from there. Obviously not, because the on-field product doesn't translate to what it is on the practice field. So I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And excuse my language real fast, John. What he's saying is bullshit. That's not that's
exactly. It is.
So this is what he said on Dillon Stewart, by the way. We'll know more after a day or so. Optimistic on all those guys. I don't think anybody's long-term. We feel optimistic on all those guys that either missed yesterday or left the game yesterday. We're optimistic on their availability for Saturday. So we're not going to really know.
Every week.
This has been Beamer for the last – I think this has been Beamer ever since he got here. You're not going to know the injuries up until the official SEC report comes out on Wednesday and Thursday.
Oh, my gosh. Thanks for saying that. I don't even know. Yeah, like I said, I didn't see – obviously, I don't know if they posted the – game right since I posted the teleconference yet, but God, good grief! Like, of course, not. Like, I get him saying that, but it's like it's been like, especially this year. Like, I do agree it's been like that the last few years, but saying you're optimistic, and I'm like, I don't even know what I was gonna say. Like, it's like that. Just say we don't know.
Right.
Just say we don't know. Don't say we're optimistic. Just say we don't know right now. Just, hey, if I had to guess right now, I don't think Dillon will play Saturday, but that's just me.
Ain't
No,
no
Bama, personally.
John, there ain't no telling at this point with how injuries have been recently.
Let me ask you this real quick. Do you think he's trying to say the injuries are part of the problem without like he's trying to say injuries are an excuse?
No, I don't think I haven't taken that away. I think he's trying to share excuses for his own stupid hires.
Like Shula and what other stupid hires?
Really, Shula. That's been the primary one of the season. I don't think Clayton White has been a stupid hire because he wasn't Shula's hire, or he wasn't Beamer's hire.
Clayton, he was with Muschamp. Wow.
Yes. And Clayton got an extension this past year. So I don't know if you even think about firing him this year, because his buyout is going to be around about $6 million. So that's a decision that you're going to have to make very soon. No. Clayton was Shane's hire from his inaugural staff, but you haven't seen the consistency that you want to see from a Clayton White defense. 23 was abysmal. 22 was okay. Last year was better. That was your best defense that you've had. This year you haven't really taken a step back, but you haven't improved because of lazy offseason moves that you did in the portal.
In the portal, like not like, oh, we got guys that have. It's like, oh, it's like too much in the portal. It's like, oh, we got guys that have waited their turn. We're good.
Yeah.
And that's just, I mean, good line came from, was it A&M or Bama? I think it was Alabama. I think good line came from Bama. I can't remember. Whatever that linebacker.
Sean Murphy came from Bama.
Was good one A&M? I can't even remember, but it's just like Nick Barrett is like, oh, he waited his turn and he'll be good, and I'm just like,
I'm sorry, Sean Murphy came from Florida State.
Yeah. One guy came from A&M a couple years ago. Last year, one came from Bama.
Gabe Brownlow Dindy, and he's been hurt most of the season.
Yeah, it's just been like, yeah. Talking about the game was at 12:45, and it's like by mid-afternoon, I'm like, okay, I don't have to, wait to watch an abomination. It's just like another thing, like we're not using Lenore Sellers the right way.
No.
Like Mike Shula has taken everything that made Lenore successful last year, that Dow Loggins, everything Dow Loggins did last year that made Lenore successful. Mike Shula has completely tried to make Lenore a pocket passer, and he's not running him design, which is a lot of what was successful last year. He completely scrapped everything. It's kind of like the same thing with Tennessee. It's like anything that was working for Tennessee, like you said, has abandoned anything that's worked. And what we did with Lenore last year that was working, it's like being completely abandoned. And like, here's my whole thing yesterday. It was like, what, second quarter the only time we scored? Why the heck are you running 3 times up the freaking middle, and then it takes you to a 4th down to throw the ball to Nick Harper?
4th down, and you go 4th and goal, and you get lucky because the referees don't call a false start penalty on your left tackle.
False start, yeah, holding one or the other. But yeah, but still, it's like, why does it take you to 4th down? Like, oh, we need to throw the ball to our best athlete. Well, one of our 2 best athletes. Sorry. To our best wide receiver, let's just be honest, besides Jacob when he's out there, but your most athletic wide receiver. Like, hey, let's throw the ball to him.
That's been your identity all season long, man. John, I appreciate the phone call, man. Have a great.
Thanks for letting me vent. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. We'll see you Tuesday on the live show.
All right, thanks, bro.
Guys, that's going to wrap it up for us here on the Final Whistle. As always, thank you guys so much for hopping on in and talking some ball with us. Y'all make sure y'all hit the like, share, and subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell notifications so that you are notified every time we go live here on SEC Live at the Voice of College Football. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you all very soon.